My grandfather died 30 years ago, leaving behind very few possessions and even fewer answers. Most people remembered him as a quiet man who preferred solitude over conversation. He rarely spoke about his past, rarely shared stories, and never seemed interested in discussing the years before he settled down and started a family. To everyone else, he was simply an ordinary old man. But as I would later discover, there was nothing ordinary about him at all. When I was a child, I used to spend weekends at his house. I remember sitting on the creaky wooden porch while he watched the sunset in silence. Sometimes I would ask him questions about his life. I want to know what adventures he had experienced, what mistakes he had made, and what secrets he carried. Every time I asked, he would smile gently and say, "Some stories are meant to stay hidden." At the time, I thought he was joking. Now I know he wasn't. After his death, the family divided his belongings. Furniture was sold, photographs were packed away, and old documents disappeared into storage boxes. During all that chaos, nobody paid much attention to a small locked wooden box sitting in the attic. It was dusty, forgotten, and seemingly unimportant. For 30 years, it remained untouched. Life moved on. My father passed away. My grandmother passed away. Family members moved to different cities. Children became adults. Entire chapters of life came and went while that mysterious box sat silently in darkness. Then one rainy evening, everything changed. I had returned to my late father's house to prepare it for sale. The old place felt empty. Every room carried memories. Every wall seemed to whisper stories from the past. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Inside, I climbed into the attic searching for old documents. That was when I saw it. The box, covered in dust, waiting. Something about it immediately caught my attention. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was fate. Whatever the reason, I couldn't stop staring at it. I carried it downstairs and placed it on the dining table. The lock was old and rusted. After several attempts, it finally broke. The sound echoed through the silent house. For a moment, I hesitated. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me felt afraid. Then I slowly lifted the lid. Inside were dozens of photographs, newspaper clippings, and a worn leather journal. At first glance, it looked like a collection of memories. But the deeper I looked, the stranger things became. Many photographs showed places I had never seen before. Dense forests, abandoned buildings, remote dirt roads leading into darkness. Then I found a photograph that stopped my heart. It showed my grandfather standing beside 3 other men. They were smiling. Behind them stood an old cabin hidden deep within a forest. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then I noticed a newspaper clipping attached to the back. The headline read, "Local man disappears without a trace." The article was dated 1968. The missing man was one of the people standing beside my grandfather in the photograph. I stared at the image in disbelief. According to the newspaper, the man vanished shortly after the picture was taken. His body was never found. No suspects were identified. The case remained unsolved. Suddenly, the room felt colder. My hands trembled as I opened the leather journal. The first few pages contained normal notes about weather, travel, and daily life. Then the entries changed. The handwriting became shaky, uneven, almost frightened. One sentence immediately caught my attention. "If anyone finds this journal, know that what happened in the woods was never an accident." A chill ran down my spine. Outside, rain hammered against the windows. Inside, I continued reading. According to the journal, my grandfather and his 3 friends discovered an abandoned cabin while hiking through a remote forest. Curiosity led them inside. While exploring the cabin, they found a hidden trapdoor beneath the floor. Underneath was a staircase descending deep underground. Most people would have left. They didn't. The journal described a narrow tunnel stretching into darkness. The deeper they went, the stranger everything became. Cold air, unfamiliar symbols carved into stone walls, a feeling of being watched. Finally, they reached a massive metal door. No explanation, no markings they could understand. Just a giant door hidden beneath the earth. One friend wanted to leave immediately. Another insisted on opening it. An argument followed. Eventually, curiosity won. They opened the door. The journal never described what was behind it. That was what terrified me most. Instead of explaining, my grandfather repeatedly wrote the same sentence. We should never have opened it. Again and again, across multiple pages, as if he couldn't think about anything else. The following entries became increasingly disturbing. Strange noises around their homes. Nightmares. Shadows appearing where shadows shouldn't exist. Then the disappearances began. One friend vanished while driving home from work. Another disappeared from his own bedroom. The third was last seen walking into the woods. None were ever found. Authorities blamed accidents. Runaways. Voluntary disappearances. My grandfather believed otherwise. According to him, something followed them back from beneath the cabin. Something ancient. Something patient. Something waiting. As I read those words, my heart pounded faster. I wanted to dismiss everything as the imagination of a frightened old man. But then I found something hidden inside the back cover of the journal. A map, hand-drawn, detailed. A red circle marked a location deep within the forest. Next to it were 4 words written in dark ink. The door is opening. I stared at those words for several minutes. Questions raced through my mind. What did they mean? Was any of it true? Why had my grandfather hidden all this? Suddenly my phone rang. The sound nearly made me jump. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. No response. Only silence. Then slow breathing. A few seconds later, a whisper emerged from the speaker. You found the box. The call disconnected. My blood turned cold. I immediately called back. The number didn't exist. My hand shook as I lowered the phone. Then I noticed something impossible. The map was gone. I searched the table, the floor, the entire room. Nothing. It had vanished. For several minutes, I stood there in complete disbelief. Eventually, I convinced myself that stress was affecting my judgment. Maybe I misplaced it. Maybe it fell somewhere. Maybe there was a logical explanation. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house sounded louder. Every shadow seemed darker. Every noise made my heart race. Around 3 in the morning, I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, heavy, deliberate. I froze. The house was empty. At least it was supposed to be. The footsteps continued, one after another, moving directly above my room. I grabbed my flashlight and slowly climbed the stairs. The hallway was empty. Every room was empty. Nothing. No intruder. No explanation. As I turned to leave, I noticed something on the attic floor. Fresh muddy footprints. My stomach tightened. The footprints led directly toward the place where the box had been stored for 30 years. Then they simply stopped, as if whoever made them had vanished into thin air. The next morning, I decided to learn more about the cabin. After hours of research, I discovered something shocking. The cabin really existed. The disappearances really happened. And a location marked in my grandfather's journal matched an actual forest approximately 3 hours away. I told myself I was only looking for answers. Nothing more. 2 days later, I was driving toward the forest. The journey felt endless. Rain clouds gathered overhead. The farther I traveled, the more isolated everything became. Eventually, GPS stopped working. Cell service disappeared. Only dense forest surrounded me. When I finally arrived, I immediately understood why nobody visited this place anymore. The woods felt wrong. Silent. Still. Almost lifeless. After walking for nearly an hour, I found it. The cabin. Or what remained of it. Time had reduced most of the structure to ruins. Rotting wood. Collapsed walls. Broken windows. Nature was slowly reclaiming everything. For a moment, I considered turning back. Every instinct told me to leave. But curiosity pushed me forward. I entered the ruins. Inside, I discovered something hidden beneath fallen debris. A metal ring attached to the floor. My heart raced. I pulled. A trapdoor opened. Exactly as described in the journal. Cold air rushed upward. Darkness waited below. I stood there frozen. The stories. The journal. The disappearances. Everything suddenly felt real. Against my better judgment, I descended. The staircase seemed endless. Each step carried me farther from the world above. Eventually, I reached the tunnel. The walls were covered with strange symbols, identical to those described by my grandfather. A deep sense of unease settled over me. Yet I kept moving. Further, further, further. Then I saw it. The door. Massive. Ancient. Impossible. Even after all these years, it remained exactly where my grandfather described. And somehow, it was slightly open. Only a few inches, but open. A freezing wind emerged from the darkness beyond. I could barely breathe. Fear gripped every part of my body. Then I noticed something scratched into the metal surface. A message. Fresh. Not old. Not faded. Fresh. It read, "Some stories refuse to stay hidden." My legs felt weak. My mind screamed at me to run. So I did. I turned and sprinted through the tunnel. Up the staircase. Out of the cabin. Through the forest. I didn't stop until I reached my car. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. For a brief moment, I thought I saw a figure standing among the trees. Watching. Waiting. Smiling. Maybe it was imagination. Maybe it wasn't. I never returned. The journal remains locked away. The photographs remain hidden. The mystery remains unsolved. But one thing still haunts me. Several weeks after my visit, I received another anonymous phone call. The same breathing. The same silence. Then the same whisper. This time it said only one sentence. "You opened more than a box." The line went dead. I have never received answers. Only more questions. And perhaps some secrets were never meant to be understood. If you've made it this far into the story, remember this. Curiosity can lead us to incredible discoveries, but sometimes it also reveals truths we are not prepared to face. Every mystery begins with a single question, and every hidden story waits for someone brave enough to uncover it. If you enjoy mysterious stories, unsolved secrets, chilling discoveries, and unforgettable adventures, make sure to subscribe to Hidden Stories and join us on the journey. Your support helps bring these stories to life, and you never know which mystery we'll uncover next. The next hidden story may be even darker, even stranger, and even more shocking than this one. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and become part of the Hidden Stories family, because the world's greatest secrets are still waiting to be found.